Hey, this is Dr. George Moricz. This is part 3 of how to naturally recharge your brain and body in literally seconds. At the end of this presentation, I promise each and every one of you will be able to walk away with something that immediately allows you to do this for yourself. That's right. I'm going to translate all of what we know. In the last 15 years, we've basically cracked the code on everything that's happening in your brain and body actually is some form of resonance or vibration. And this is something that each and every one of you could take advantage of and most of you should. Something all of you will be familiar with is all this talk about energy consumption. We're always trying to figure out ways to harvest energy, take energy from our ambient, what we call ambient energy, and convert into electrical. So you're familiar with thermal, solar, even wind, mechanical from ocean waves, as well as mechanical vibrations from humans. So they're trying to design ways of harvesting energy. But think for a moment about not us just trying to harvest energy to store it up in a battery so that we can use our electronics, implantable devices, whatever we're doing. But think of it as a way to say, well, why is it that we haven't really cracked the code? Why have we not gone past this field of bioengineering where we're trying to create new drugs and therapies to improve human life? Why have we not figured out how the body signals itself like it did years ago? Everything I do is based on your youthful blueprint. It doesn't matter if you sleep right, eat right, you wake up the next day when you have youth and you are a sexual dynamo. And then 10, 20, 30 years out, things kind of poop out on you. What we have now figured out in energy medicine is there are ideal voltages, ideal pHs. So everything that's functioning in your body, when you look at anything in your environment, it's in vibration. This is what we call quantum physics. So it's kind of deceptive because you look at something that looks like it's just a solid sitting there object, but it's in constant motion. Well, your body is no different. It's really a big magnet with electrical fields. That's why we would consider it really more of a electromagnetic field, okay, a very dynamic field, rather than just looking at it as just a group of cells and chemicals. And you have your DNA, you have protein, you have all these different things that are either trying to grow your body or to repair it. Current big pharma technology, they're looking at different processes, whether it causes cancer or damage to your body, and they're trying to find ways to somehow interrupt or do something with the process, a chemical reaction. But really there's a lot of trial and error in this. What I would propose that you think about, when you have youth, you have this perfect roadmap of natural youthful chemicals working in your body. Most medical problems aren't really medical problems at all. So the moment that you start introducing synthetic drugs, things in your body 10, 20, 30 years out from 20, what you're doing is you're kind of Mickey Mousing. You're not going back to the way things were. Something I believe that has been purposely kept from the public is that every biologic interaction, so think of your body as full of protein and DNA. DNA, you understand, it's based on little building blocks, as so are proteins. And what has already been identified is there's like a peak frequency. Just like you're listening to my voice or you listen to music, anything that you can actually observe in the environment, it has peak frequencies. Well, they have actually correlated what's happening in your body to a peak frequency. So we're now reverse engineering of how different chemical reactions work in the body. See, it's all based on biophysical signaling. There is some kind of a transfer of energy of electrons, and it's done at a certain frequency. Once you get this idea and understand that the body is not just conducting because you have water in it, but all your DNA and your protein, these building blocks, if you look inside the cells, they have these little tubules. Think of it kind of like a spider web, and it all conducts electrons, which would be electrical. And by setting this up in your body, every one of these electrical signals can can be associated with some kind of a resonant or vibrational process. So when someone shatters glass with their voice, if you hear a vibrational noise, someone is driving down the street with very loud music, I mean, these are all vibrational, but so is your body. So why is it, if we know all of this information from everyone from Tesla to Einstein, Rife, why is it that if we know all about these frequencies, we know about resonance and vibration, why do we pretend that this is only the stuff of science fiction? This is only for space exploration. This is so we enjoy our use of our mobile devices. Well, quantum mechanics, quantum physics basically says there's no difference between energy and matter. It's all one. Everything is moving. So if you look at an object, it's in motion. So why is it then that we don't actually figure out how this relates to the body? Well, I can't entirely tell you the politics of it, but the traditional way that we look at the body is different systems, different organ systems, even the way that the brain works with its neurogenic connections. But what we're doing right now is we're bridging the gap from how current medical science uses biochemicals, in the model of all these cells and tissues and organs, to look at disease. And if you're skeptical on that, I'd like to introduce you to the idea that there are already energetic processes that actually charge up the battery of the body. In other words, increase your voltage. And there have been studies both in Reiki, they've done it in acupuncture, different kind of healing touches where you can actually increase the voltage of either an organ or the entire body. And once we figure out that when you had youth, you really didn't need any synthetic medicines. You didn't really need some of these modalities. What we're saying is that was probably the greatest point of balance. Youth is perfect health. So if the body is electromagnetic in nature, then why wouldn't we use those frequencies? Why wouldn't we charge up the perfect pattern of natural youthful chemicals and actually just offer that to the body? Why wouldn't we have already done that? Well, currently what you're going to find on the market is you're going to see a field of electromagnetic field units. In other words, units that will reproduce certain frequencies, vibration, and offer it to the body, whether it conducts through your body or at a distance. And we're not talking about like radiation that someone would get for cancer. But what this does, okay, so what the point of all this is, it's trying to recharge the body. It's based on the idea that if your body's an electromagnetic field, that knowing certain frequencies can reset the body. The limitations, of course, in any type of therapy is that you have to do it over and over again. And what I see is that while we're trying to rid the body of microorganisms, whether it's bacteria, parasites, I've seen work on that. We've seen interruption of growth of tumor cells. So there are cases, and where they're disrupting it. But it's not very simple. In other words, you have to become diseased, or you have to be over-colonized or infected with an organism, and then use this device, which may need to be tuned in. Generic devices are just generic. And what I'm finding is that it's really missing the boat. The real task at hand is to take everything we know about what kept you youthful. And in a previous discussion, I went through some of the energy systems on that. What I reviewed with you is that the energy systems for naturally recharging your brain and body, the essential ones are everything from the mitochondria, the little powerhouses that make your energy, the metabolic ones, particularly the youthful chemicals that keep your metabolism going, the detoxification energy systems, the restorative ones, the ones that reset your brain and body, and then, of course, the sexual energy systems. To that effect, I have taken the the knowledge of what makes those systems drive. In other words, the perfect activating frequencies that actually make those systems work. And I've actually charged them. They're actually charged in silver and can be delivered. That's right. It's actually a product that can be delivered. And when you do this, and you would do this in sync with the way the body works, what you can do is you can get all the benefits of resetting your body just like you did years ago. See, this flies right in the face of what we've learned, because we started with what's called the genetic code, that everything is kind of coded with these little bases of nucleotides, what you know as DNA. And then we went a little further and we started thinking, okay, there's environmental influences that sort of re-project what the genes should do. But now what the field we're in now is the bioelectric code, where cells have electric properties. And that's how you activate cells. That's why you use bioactive frequency. Think of these little vibrations as information messengers. So rather than thinking about the usual things that cause messaging in the body, it ultimately turns into an electrical signal. Just like if your car is not working correctly, you would get a code reader. Your mechanic would take a code reader and try to read the code of what's wrong. The physical vibrations act as a software program. That's the thing that's working. So we've got to get away from a kind of a chemical model, okay? We've got to get away from the idea that, okay, you've got to give this drug, you've got to activate this, you've got to block this, because ultimately it has an electrical effect which is not like to be in balance with your body. That's why people who go to the doctor, a regular doctor, it's sort of like calling a tow truck. When in fact, a lot of aging occurs between 30 and 50, and we could already be resetting the signals. You wouldn't even know the things that you've avoided by resetting these signals earlier rather than after the fact. So just like we used to have landline phones years ago, well, now we use cellular technology. So we're understanding how things can be sent at a distance wirelessly. Just like we used to use an oven, now we use microwave technology. So we start understanding the electromagnetic spectrum. If you had used corded devices and now you use something Bluetooth, you're getting the idea that it's all signaling in the environment. Anyone who went from a pure cable system to satellite says, oh, I get it. There's signals that are being beamed out there. So everything is working in what I would call more of an electromagnetic quantum effect. In other words, everything is in motion. So by now you realize how the body, when it had youth, it had these perfectly balanced energy systems. And now you also see how electrical signaling, especially getting in sync with the wavelengths of what kept you youthful again, is probably the door for resetting your body, especially between 30 and 50. And then you also realize that if you were to go down the path of drugs and pharmacy and waiting for trial error, you're really never going to be youthful, because you're not activating the frequencies that kept your body and brain balanced. And then lastly, you recognize that you could immediately recharge your brain and body using activated frequency technology. Drop me a line. Let me know if you'd like to learn more. This is Dr. George Moricz. Thank you.